Live streaming is on.
So the live streaming is on. Yeah, good evening, guys. As at last, as at our last class, we are talking about delete using delete function in MySQL database. So basically, we've talked about the create, which is to input something into the database, and then we've talked about the read operation, which is to select some selected data from the database. So you can order them based on ID or order them based on anything, or you can give them a function save. So we talked about update also. Updates is just like you're updating or you're editing a data. You're editing someone's data in the database. And also we talked about delete operation, which was our last class. So today what we're going to be talking about is how to make use of basic form validation on PHP. So there are actually basic ways at which you can validate your form. So from here we have this kind of form, and the form is just taking in inputs for what? For a product. So we have to take in inputs for emails, to take in inputs for product name, price, and product details. So those are the details that will be needed. So instead of making use of several other libraries, external libraries or external frameworks to validate your form, you can actually make use of what? PHP to validate the form also. So let me clear this off and start afresh. So I we use this in the previous class. So the only thing with this code now is the fact that this has already been linked to our database, meaning that any inputs that we have here will directly be sent to the database, and we don't want that. So I can decide to comment this one out. This side first. Yeah, so I've taken this one out now, and we're left with this. So starting from here, what I have is my get and post method. That's when I was just explaining how to make use of get and post method. And yes, our form here was we made use of post method for our form. So there is really no much need to explain this. But if there is any need, I just said if a post for email is set, then that means everything that we have inside this if statement will carry on. So it will echo out the email, it will echo out the words, the name, it will echo out the price, it will echo out the details that has been inputted in the database. So then we have XSS attack here. Yes, XSS attack. So what this actually means is you are trying to set apart you are trying to filter out some variables, I mean some characters ideal that are not ideal, or that are just like HTML entities, HTML characters. Instead of outputting it, it will just what secluded to filter them out. So that is what this HTML special char, that's what the function stands for. You can say it converts special characters to HTML entities. So I think I made an example. Yes, I made an example for that in this. I think I've deleted it. Okay, in this. So yeah, instead of instead of it outputting that interlinks, it will just, I mean, instead of outputting it to have this interlinks format, because when I was inputting it, I add brackets I for it. All right, sir. So it will just filter it out. So all these ones are things that we are familiar with. So just let me rub that one off. Yes, and yeah, I didn't want to take in any inputs. I don't want to take in any inputs. So I think, yeah, none of this is important, right? Yes, I make sure none of this is important, because if you should add required here, so basically each time you input something in this form, or you do not input anything in this form, that same form will quickly pop up an info there that this particular form is required. So you can't click submit without, you can't click submit without filling out that part. Can you see? Please fill out this field because it is what required. So at the point of me clicking this and saving, if I should refresh, And at the point of me not typing anything in this, once I click submit, it has already submitted like that. Though it is not linked with my database because I've commented out. So you can see it's submitting it like that. So we can make use of um PHP validation instead of making use of all those styling and the rest, all those HTML stuffs. So that is the reason why this div tag is here. So I will still come down to this point where this div tag will come in place. But for now, let's start with the basic form validation. And I've explained what basic form validation actually what it works for. So it validates every single input that you have for email, for product name, for product price, and product details, just like that. So it will validate it by himself without you having to make use of required or telling you this thing. So in this aspect, you can tell it what to do. That if there is no input for this email, do something. Whether you want it to pop up a message up here that input field is required, or that you can't submit all this kind of stuff. So that is what this basic validation form is all about. So down to our first task. So you have to first confirm if something is set. So in this case, I want to confirm if our email is set. So it goes like this: is set, and then you have it in brackets. Then you have your dollar underscore post because it's a post request. And then you have our email this way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's it. So if email is set, carry out this function. That is just what this is all about. So first thing first, let's first validate our email. So once there is email, or let me say once the submit button is being clicked, validate all this. So instead of email here, we can replace it to submit. But just let's start with this first. So this is the validation for email. So the validation for me is just like, what do you want for that email field? So I will just start with another if statement that says that if the stuff is empty, empty. So that's a function that comes along with PHP. If this particular field underscore post for email, if this particular field for email is empty, carry out this function. Do you understand that? If this is empty, that is the input field for email, if it is empty, you have to carry out this function. And what would that be, that function? What would be the function? Let me just say you should just echo out an email is required. So yeah. So this simply means that if this post field is empty, you click submit. Let me change this to submit. If this email field is required and then you click submit, just pop out this error that okay, an email address is required. That is if it's submit. So you know that if the point I replace this with an exclamation mark, that is this exclamation mark determines like the opposite of what you have here. So this empty simply means it determines whether a variable is empty or not. So since there is not an exclamation mark here, it represents the opposite. That if this is not empty, echo out this statement. But in this case, we just want to leave it like this. So if this is empty, it will echo out an email address is required. And then if it is not empty, we can now give it an else statement this way, that okay, echo out the what? The email address itself. So we are echoing out, we can, since it's a variable, we will not put it inside string, we just call it post and then echo out the email itself. You get that? Yep. And that's for email. So we can also validate for product name. Yep. Trying to rush because of my battery percentage. So as for product name, we can just let's copy out what we have here, and then we replace this to p name because that's what we use to save it, and then to echo out p name. So what would be the message that it will pass across? Product name is also required. She gets something like that. A product name is required. Yes. So because this is on top of this, I can decide to give this a BR tag, or you can concatenate it with your BR tag. Mhm. So let me stop here and see. No, no, no. I don't want it to submit. So this is our blank page again now. So just let's assume I input email, I do not input product name, and then I click submit. Can you see what it shows me here? It shows it will echo out the product, the email, but as for the product name, it says what a product name is required. That is, that input field is required to, like, something has to be there. So as for this BR tag, the BR tag didn't actually work, and that's because I'm supposed to. Okay, okay, okay. When I echo out this, I'm supposed to concatenate it with a BR tag, something like this. Shall you get? Uh-huh. And then this one also BR tag. So if I submit this again, you can see it comes down to the other line. Yeah, so a product so you can see a product name is required, but that one for email actually worked. So it outputted it. So if we want to do the same for the rest of them, we can also do that by just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Okay, okay. I was supposed to put what's it called BR tag here and concatenate this one to another BR tag also. Yes. So if that's for product name, now I want to do for product price. So if this for product price, one message should specify a product price here. I think it's PRICE. Yes. And PRICE. Yes. A product price. Product price is required. And then as for the last one, which is product details. Yes. So P product details was just details on the form. Mm. So I think that's product details. Let me pluralize this. Product details are required. Yeah, because there are more than one. So in this part, I think all is correct. Let me just refresh. So if I do not input anything and then I just click, can you see? An email address is required, product name is required, product price is required, product details are required. So at the point of me inputting something for products, I mean your email, and let me say I inputted something for price. So at the point of clicking submit, you will see the email was outputted and then the price was also outputted, but the ones that are empty are still left with this error: a product name is required, a product details is required. Do you know that this particular details that is being outputted here, there is a way you can output it right here as a pop down below this input field or above the input field? So we'll still get there, but before then, this is not actually an ideal way of validating your form unless you make use of some special functions to validate it. So starting with our HTML special char, instead of echoing out this result that is being imputed here, then I was explaining the fact that somebody can just come here now and input something like this bold in the input field. So at the point of clicking submit, you realize this part followed by art should contain symbol. It has already known because this is actually Bootstrap that I use. That's the reason why. This is Bootstrap that I use, and I already specified it as what email here. So the type is email. That's the reason why it's not taking in that kind of input. But just let's assume I do that for product name, which is just taking in text. that part that is just taking a text. If I should input bold, Bootstrap is already coming along with some functions already. So since the type is so at the point of clicking submit, can you see automatically it has already made use of what that function, which is the bold, but it's not meant to be happening that way because we don't want our users from different countries with different intentions to come and be inputting several things that can tamper with your queries, that can tamper with your database. So we don't want that. So the best way to prevent this kind of error is by making use of what HTML special chars. There are several other ways, but basically we make use of HTML special chars, and this is how it is being done. You're just going to what turn it out this way. You type in your HTML special. Am I correct in my spelling? It has an S, and then you put that in a bracket. Yes. So now that you put this in a bracket, so you already have this. So the same way we can have for this one, we can have for this. Okay. HTML.
The special
Yep.
files on email.
What do you say?
The HTML special tags you wrote on email, there is T in it.
Okay, okay, okay. See that. Thank you. Okay, okay, it's correct now. HTML special. I think it's correct now. So upon saving now, if I should reload with this same form input, you can see it brought out the whole input here is taking it took everything in as a text. So it's like it filtered the HTML function for this this bracket, b bracket, and then brackets slash brackets she gets as bold. So it's just filtered it out. So directly it's just saying that this is just a plain text. So it's converted our inputs to a plain text. So if I over on it now, you can see it converts special characters to HTML entities. So it just changed everything that we have in the input and just display everything out the exact same way it is. So the input type was actually text. That's the reason why it could tolerate this kind of inputs. But if the type is email, you know that email accepts only letters and that symbol, at symbol, the full stop and the rest. It's not taking in that kind of brackets and even slash. So I'll still explain how that can be filtered as for the email. So with this now, we already have like a basic form validation this way now. It's just a basic way of validating your form. So now let's talk about using filters to validate the form. So there are actually, like I said earlier, there are some special functions that comes along with PHP that like this filter var shey get. We have filter validate email to validate email, and then we also have something that is called regex. Regex, yeah, regular expression. That's the meaning of regex. So those are what we are going to use now to validate the form. So the first thing first, since let me try and understand this. If email is empty, it will echo out this. Else, yeah, it will echo out the particular email that's been inputted. Okay, so before the thing echo it out, we want to try and do some, what's it called, some validations to it. So let me cancel out this echo and this, and same as this br tag. We are not echoing it out this time around. We just want to validate it. We want to make sure that this particular email that is being imputed is actually an authentic email. So by doing that, let's first save it in a variable. Let me save it in a variable called email. email equals to this particular email that is just been submitted using post request. So we can now make use of this if statement that will be used towards to validate it. If there is something called filter underscore var, yes, that's the spelling, filter underscore var, and then it takes in two different attributes. I can see mixed variables. So filters a variable with a specified filter. Yes. So this filter var is just like a function that you want to use to filter out something using this the variable that you want to filter. So I'm filtering my email, which is the one I just typed, and then the second attribute will be the kind of filter you want to make use of. So the filter I want to use for this email now is filter validate email. That's it comes along with PHP, and then there are several other filter validates. There are several other filter functions also that comes with it. Email. Am I right? Filter validate email. Yes. So if this actually works, I will echo out uh, yes. Okay. So the email that is being submitted comes into this variable called email. So I'm now making use of an if statement to confirm if this is being filtered. So the filtration here is between this variable and this function. So filter underscore validate underscore email. Yeah, this should be correct. So it will, once this is filtered, it will return what? Yes. Let's save and see if this is going to give us something reasonable. If not, if it is empty, okay. Yes, it gave us yes. So that means that input was valid. So let me assume that it is just normal text with numbers that was inputted. Let's click submit. I didn't even give it an else statement. It said please include an, click on here. Let me change the input type to be text instead of email, because this is what just happened now. So in my form validation, I didn't give it an else statement. Else echo no. Okay, so let me just input normal text and numbers. Upon clicking submit, can you see it gives me no? What does this no means? That means this is not an email input. What I inputted here was not an email input. So if I should click submit, it is giving me that no. But at the point of me clicking on any of all this, as far as it's having this @ symbol and it has a domain that is recognized, upon clicking submit, it gives you what? A positive response that yes. So you can see this particular function actually works. This filter validates email. So in order for our if statement not to be too long, I can shorten it like this and say if this is not true, yes. So I make use of this not function, and the meaning here is just trying to check if this filter variable kiniko email for this email and this, if it is not true, echo an error. She gets like echo an error that is invalid input for this email address, or you can just type invalid. She invalid me. I be input the correct input a valid email address. Yep. So looking at this now, if this is empty to give out this error, that is something has to be here. You can't leave it blank. So this one is now filtering, just like this else statement simply means that if something is now being imputed, that is okay, you have a data inside that field. It is not empty again. No. There is now a data inside that field. Check it very well. If that data is correct, then yeah, fine, it's correct. But if it is not correct, echo out invalid input for the email address. So that's what this simply means. Input a valid email address. So just like how we have before, instead of printing out yes or no, at the point of me just typing in any input for this, let me just say I give it this one correct. Can you see it is saying what? Input a valid email address. So I will like to concatenate it with a BR tag here. So we will have everything jam packed. So once I save and I refresh, submitting that same form, can you see? Input a valid email address. So this particular error now could be pop. You can set it to be a pop-up, or it should just show on top of this words. I'll be under this label. So it will just give the user an impression that, oh, sorry, I inputted the wrong email. So this same thing that we just did here now, we can still do the same for product name. We can do the same for product price. We can do the same for product details. But there is something you have to understand. This function actually works for only email. So if this works for email, then how are we going to go about the one that will work for product name? For product name now, anything can be imputed for product name, and we can reduce it to letters, that is small letters and capital letters, and even numbers. It should be able to take in numbers also, something like that. We make use of regex. So in W3 schools there is something here that says PHP regular expression. So that is the meaning of regex. This is the spelling reg and then ex. So what is a regex expression? A regular expression is a sequence of characters that forms a search pattern. When a search data in a text, you can okay. So this is just trying to like interpret what you have imputed in that form. If it not correlates with the expression that's been given using PHP, then it will pop out an error. Do you understand? So that's what the regex is actually used for. So I will give you. So when you're using regex, you make use of preg match instead of kilimolombi by for email, instead of filter var. Yes, instead of filter by variable, you make use of preg match. Preg, not pregnant, but returns a clinical. So yeah, that's what preg match is useful. So as for product name, so yeah, we cleared all this, and then you save it inside a variable, and in this case, I'm naming it p product name, and I'm equating it to not at dollar sign underscore post, and then I have my p name. Yes, for product name. Yep. So just like how we did before, I'll make use of my if statement. But like I said, we're not going to use filter variable by this filter function. We are making use of a regular expression in this. So we are going to make use of preg underscore match match. Yes, that is it. This is what we're going to use. So regular expression is a whole topic entirely. Yes, and I would like to teach it because it is mentally not pleasing. It is not, I don't like it. That's what I can say about regex. So I have one that I've already installed right here. So it goes like this. Okay. So unlike making use of filter variable, I will impute the variable first before the filter function. But in regex, you will impute the filter function, I mean the regular expression, before you what impute the variable name. Yes, that's something you should take note of. I've had several errors because of this. So can you see it here? Before you will add the subject. So I have to input my regex now. So it starts with a slash and ends with a slash. I don't know how. And then I'm making use of all everything in this bracket now. And then I'm closing bracket too. But everything between small letter A and small letter Z, and also capital letter A and capital letter Z. Yes. So that means It will accept inputs for all small letter a to small letter z and capital letter A to all capital letter Z. And then we have a backward slash. No, there's a backward slash. Yes, I don't know what this S stands for, but yeah, it's this one stands for, I think, for numbers. Honestly, I don't know everything about these regex, but this is just a regular expression that takes in letters. Letters. So the product name will contain letters and space. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This backward slash S simply means space. So it takes in space. Yeah, that's what it means. So it takes in space. I think it was even specified here. See. Find any non-white space characters. Small letter S. Because it's the small letter S, find any white space characters. So white space is our space bar, that is space that we are inputting. So it accepts spaces. But if it's capital letter S, non-space, that is, it's not accepting spaces. So this raised to power that you see here, it finds a match as the beginning of the string. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So I think that's all for product name. Okay, so if this is correct, I'm not done. Sorry. So if this is done, what should happen? I will tell it to what echo out. Okay. If this is not, I would like to convert this to not. Yes. Because if it actually works, we know it to send the data directly to the database, right? Yes. And it will redirect me somewhere. Yes. But if it does not work, that is, if the product name did not match what I'm supposed to input here, tell me something. That is, product name must contain letters, that is, alphabets and spaces only. Letters and spaces only. That is, it is not it's not going to contain numbers in this aspect. Shall you get BR? Yes. It's not going to contain numbers in this aspect. Okay, yeah. There's an error. I'm done now. So it's not going to contain numbers in these aspects. So let's forget about these ones and let's come back to our page and refresh everything that we have here. So from what I have here, if I should click submit, everything is required. So if I should input for email, yes, we've tested for email. Now I want to test for this. You can see now this is having what numbers. Let's see if it's going to work. Can you see? The one for email did not show. It did not show anything because the input for the email was correct. So that one has gone. But as for this one, it is still giving us an error because product name must contain letters and spaces only. If you want it to contain numbers, then you have to make use of a regex format here that will accept numbers also. Can you see? Find any alphabet letters between A to Z and digits 0 to 9. We will have make use of this slash W shey get as a replacement, so it will take in numbers also. But we don't need that. And yes, we don't need that. We just want it to be restricted to letters alone. So with this now, we've actually talked about basic form validation. Yes, yes. So there are several other regex that you can make use of, like for the product price now. You can make use of regex to check if the numbers that are being imputed are actually looking like numbers that could be used to represent price. Shey you get, some people just funny input text like this and they will call it their price, which is not really certain. It does not really look like a price. But if there is something like this, okay, if it ends with two zeros, okay, yes, that's a valid price. Or if it ends with a zero like this, it's a valid price, yes. So you can get regular expressions for such inputs. And product details doesn't really need the regex format because you can just input as long details as possible since it's inputting text. And okay, so now let's move on to showing our errors, all these errors that we've seen up here. Let's output it somewhere around here. That is the reason why this div tag is here in the first. My battery is low. That is the reason why this div tag is here in the first place, to what, to output our errors, and that is the reason why I have this here. So you might be wondering what all this was doing here before. I I I Kilimanjaro. Yes, in this value, it is empty. Same as this is also empty. Same as this is also empty. I think if you notice something, when I imputed my value for email, immediately I imputed it to Wale, that it was correct, it disappeared immediately. So instead of it disappearing, it can still save that data and be here. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but until I try it, show you, that's when you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to understand it. So, error array email. Email. I'm coming. Okay. Um, Using filters to validate form. Validate email. Okay. So for email, okay. So if this is empty, an email address is required. Okay. So if we want to pop out errors now, so the errors can be assigned to a specific variable. So we can pass that variable down there. Um, Instead of this whole thing that we have here, let me just save everything inside a variable name called error. So for this error now, it will be error for email, because error, we have several other inputs. So this is errors for email. I think this should not even be down here. It should be up here. Yes, because this is it. So yes, I have a variable name called errors, and it has an array, is in form of an array for email, for product name, for product price, for product details. So everything I actually imputed here was in empty strings. Exactly. So since they are all in empty strings, let me cut everything that I have here. It should be down there. It should be down here below these errors, and then paste. So email, product price, product details, and everything, they're all in empty strings. Still ignore this one. But errors is actually a variable name that we are making use of to represent an array, which is the one for email, for product name, for product price, and for product details. So here is the first one that I'm starting with. This is the errors for products, for email. So I can equate that to this whole string that I have here. Instead of echoing it out, let me just cut this and paste it here, and then cover it with my quotes, and then end my line of code this way. Let me cut this one out. So the error, if this is empty, save that error, this error that you see here, an email address is required. It will save it into this variable name, which is an array. So we can do the same thing for this particular one, which is product name. Hope you guys are following.
Yes, boss. Yes, boss.
Yes, so errors for p name. Yes, that's what we made use of here. P name to be equals to this particular variable. This particular um, message. The product name is required, so I can clear this one off also. So those things will be saved right here. So let me, as for this one also, error, and then this we have the one for price to be equals to this string. Then lastly, the one for product details. The details, does it have S? Yes, it has S. And then I have all this right here. If my system die, yeah. So all this um error field has been imputed. That is, if any of all this now is empty, it will impute out what all these details for the errors. It will impute out all this what is it called? This string. It will replace it for the errors that we have here. So now those errors now I can now what output it right under this place. So I have a div tag here that is already designed to look like an error page, to look like an error statement, I mean. So it's a div that has a class of text danger, that is the text to be read. And then this is just echo in PHP. So it will echo out the errors for email. If there is an error, it will echo out the errors for email. But if there is no error for email, on a norms it is empty. So it will not echo out anything for that particular place. That is the meaning of what you have here. So let me just do for 2 and let's save it and refresh and see what we have here. So for this now, I was saying if it is empty, right? So let's leave that one empty. Let's input something here and then click save. Can you see what we have here? An email address is required. Instead of all the echo that we were using there, we were just assigning that error into a variable name, and then we're calling that variable down here. I hope you understood that. So an email address is empty, so that is why it pops up here. But if it is not empty, can you see it is going to be empty here. If there is no input, it's going to be empty here, and that means this div tag is not there. It is empty, so it will not display anything there. That does not mean that there is no div there. If the div is present, but since there is no text for it to output, then it will be rendered what's empty. Same way we can have for the rest. We can have for the rest, which is the one for product price, product details. So if you test this, you will enjoy it actually. So you can style it more than this. I see. An email address is required, the product name is required, the product price is required, and so on. So you can style this to make more sense than the way it is right here. Hope you understand.
Yes.
Okay. Which other thing? Same way we did for this arrow that we have here, we can also have an arrow that will represent this particular one that is saying echo or impute a valid email address. You can replace what you have here, just like how we have here. uh Impute a valid email address. So same way we can have for, oh sorry, yeah. So this particular error here is if this regex format realizes that there is no, I mean, it does not follow this regex format. That's when this error will pop up. So if I should save and refresh now, and then in my product name, I went to input something that has text. At the point of clicking submit, it tell you a different error, which is a product name. I mean, product name must contain letters and spaces only. Okay. This one is telling me an email address is required. What if I just type in any other text that does not look like an email? At the point of clicking submit, it is stated, it gives me a different error, which says input a valid email address. So that actually works well. What other thing? I don't think there's really much again to talk about. Mm, 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 mm. So I think um, the value that is here. Okay, can you see now that the value immediately after clicking submit, these details is still showing, like it did not disappear immediately like this. The details is still showing, and that's because of the fact that I have a value input right here. There's a value input for email, and the email has been specified above this error page. So we have email to be equals to product name, to be equals to product price, to be equals to details, which is equals to an empty string. This is as simple as saying that everything that I have here is equals to an empty string. And then me now still writing the same thing again. Me now still writing the same thing again for product name, like dollar product p name to be equals to empty string, and all this kind of stuff. So instead of writing, rewriting, rewriting, you can equate everything to be the same equals to an empty string. So since everything is equals to an empty string, at the first time you load this page, shey get, that is when you just load this page for the first time, this input will be regarded as empty. So there will not be any value for it. It will be empty. That is the reason why you are not seeing anything aside from the placeholder. So this input your email that you have here is your placeholder, which is what we have right here. So definitely this input field, the value is empty. So nothing is there until you type in something before it was um taking that input as your your email. Yep. So that's how basic validation works. What's more, I don't know if you have questions. Abdullah, do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So studying this PHP regular expression on W3 schools, it will give you just the basic understanding. It's kind battery to low. How many percent is this? 100. So it will not give you everything that you need to know is 19, but at least it will give you a basic understanding of what regex is.
Okay, sir.
So we'll continue from there next class.
Yes.
Continue from there next class. So please input what you've learned today into your project, which is the one for students that you're working on.
Okay.
Just little error notification is okay. Just to spice your design up.
All right.
All right, now take care, Abdullah. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Enjoy.
Bye.
53 minutes. I even tried. Tó bá ti wọ 1 hour sí o máa close.